some YouTube today. I gotta download it again for this fucking third. I think 3 times this YouTube had to be downloaded. Play now. Thanks, YouTube. Alright. Let's have some fun. Let's see if we can get something like crazy. Alright, let's enjoy it. Let's see why it's called 10 Tragic. Oh, we gotta...
People say I'm evil. I say evil is how cable companies trick you with a low rate and then BAM! Your bill is over $100 a month.
Take back TV with Sling and Save.
MindGeek presents 10 Tragic Waterslide Accidents. Number 10, Oakwood Theme Park. In April 2004, 16-year-old Haley Williams visited Oakwood Theme Park with her family. While riding Hydro, a water roller coaster, she suddenly flew out of her car, falling 30 meters or 100 feet to the ground. She later died of internal injuries. The park was fined 250,000 euros for negligence after it was discovered that employees habitually declined to check the bars and seatbelts that held riders in place on the Hydro. The ride was closed for a year after Haley's death and then renamed Drenched. Number 9. Action Park. New Jersey's Action Park boasted what is perhaps the worst reputation of any amusement park in history. The place was a perfect storm of unsafe rides, drunken patrons, and disinterested teenage employees. Countless injuries were suffered on the park's water slides. At least 6 people were killed during the park's history, including 3 drownings, an electrocution, and a heart attack allegedly caused by the shock of frigid water beneath a rope swing. One man died when the car he was riding on leapt off the Alpine slide, causing him to smash his head on a rock. By 1998, the crushing weight of lawsuits forced the owners to close down Action Park. A few years later, it was reopened in a sanitized version as Mountain Creek with a new emphasis on safety, the reckless and sinister history buried beneath signs and regulations. Number 8. Waterworld USA. In 1997, the water slide at Waterworld USA in California turned deadly. Water slides have always been a top cause of theme park injuries since they are often geared with poor safety precautions, short walls, and the likelihood of hitting your head and knocking yourself out is a real concern. In 1997, a gaggle of 33 high school graduating seniors crowded the water slide, causing the slide to collapse under their weight. A 17-year-old died from a crushed chest, and all 32 others were taken to hospitals. After that month, at the graduation ceremony, 17 students accepted their diplomas in wheelchairs. Number 7. Tidal Wave Pool at Action Park. Arguably the most dangerous attraction at Action Park was the wave pool, nicknamed the Grave Pool by locals. It was the first turbulent water-bound mosh pit of its kind, with at least 12 lifeguards always on duty and as many as 30 saves being performed over a busy weekend. On July 24, 1982, a 15-year-old boy drowned in the pool. 2 years later, on August 27, 1984, a 20-year-old drowned, and on July 18, 1987, an 18-year-old met the same fate. Number 6. The Human Trebuchet at Middlemore Water Park. It probably isn't a great idea to combine one of the most powerful medieval siege weapons built to hurl boulders at castle walls with human subjects. For bored residents of Somerset, England, it must have seemed like a good idea at the time. Middlemore Water Park came up with a winning combination of powerful siege engine and awesome amusement park ride for all ages.
No, that's boring. I thought it was so footage. Let's see if we can find what? Life taser officer, jacket lady. Let's see if we can find something here that's like interesting to watch and talk about. What is this?
Put it down, bud. You're not in trouble. But we gotta get you help before you bleed out.
What?
Let you shoot me.
Taser, taser, taser.
What you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you?
We were dispatched on a radio call to a bus stop with a male apparently cutting himself with a knife. Upon our arrival, another officer was already on scene, and the male didn't want to drop the razor blade he had in his hand. Keep your hand out of the bag, man.
Get your hands out of the bag.
My beer.
Put your hands in the air.
Beer.
Put your hands. Put your
down.
hands straight up in the air.
My beer.
Put it
Put your
down.
hands
Get
in
on
the
the
air.
ground. Get on the ground.
I'm not getting on the ground.
Put your hands
You
in the
got
air.
like,
Put your hands in the air.
I'll let you shoot me.
Taser, taser,
Put your
taser.
hands in the air.
Oh, no!
Get it behind your back. Get it behind your back and get zapped again.
God damn, I never been stabbed before.
I had to ride in the squad with him to the hospital, and inside the squad he was talking about how he had wished it had had a different outcome. He had begged us to shoot him, and he was hoping that was the outcome. Luckily, it was a good day for us, and we were able to save that man's life, and he can live another day to hopefully get the treatment that he needs and not end up in that situation again.
You trying to kill yourself? Yes. Alright. You tried that before? Very much.
Hey guys, I'm gonna go inside.
I've had quite a few. I didn't think nobody knew. I was just trying to around before I dig deeper. Well, you done pretty deep, buddy.
That one was boring too. Give me something that has to have good action. Okay, movie mistakes you totally missed.
10 movie mistakes that you totally missed. The movies listed ahead are some of our all-time favorites, but they also have some of the biggest mistakes. As you'll see, these massively popular films suffer from a variety of errors and goofs, which most of us miss the first time we watch them. From crew members being where they shouldn't be, to continuity errors, to mistakes in animation, these films show that even the blockbusters and classics aren't 100% perfect. Frozen. This animated film was one of the biggest hits of 2013, and if you have kids, you are probably a little tired of hearing the song, Let It Go. To be honest, there are a number of continuity mistakes with various objects disappearing from scene to scene. That said, it's actually during the scene where Elsa's performing the hit song that animators broke the law of physics. Really getting into her performance, Elsa lets her hair down to belt out the tune. 1 second her braid is down her back, and the next it's somehow sliced right through her left arm to appear in front. Magical powers or not, this is one mistake that just doesn't make sense. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Another smash hit movie that is full of small mistakes. In such a long movie series with so many details and extras, there are bound to be a couple problems. In the scene where Pippin and Merry escape from Uruk-hai, there is one big continuity error. While crawling away from the fighting behind them, their hands are firmly tied. Then, when a horse almost comes crashing down on Pippin, his hands are magically free. Jurassic Park. Everyone loves mysterious lands, and everyone loves dinosaurs. That's why the 1993 film Jurassic Park was such a huge hit. For the time, it had such great special effects and numerous small goofs and errors to match. If you watch closely during the scene where the velociraptors are hunting the children in the kitchen, you may notice an out-of-place hand. When the raptor comes to the kitchen door, a crewman puts their hand on the creature's tail in order to steady it as it makes a grand entrance. It's not overly noticeable, but once you see it, you can never unsee it. Spider-Man. Definitely the movie that kicked off the whole comic book film resurgence, Spider-Man follows the character of Peter Parker while he balances his newfound superpowers with living a normal life. Entertaining to say the least, Spider-Man does have its share of mistakes. One of the most noticeable errors occurs during the scene where Peter is trying to use his web shooter in his bedroom. In the process, he catches a lamp and smashes it. Aunt May comes to see what is going on, and audiences find the very same lamp in the back on the dresser without any damage. The Shining. The film that gave a whole new meaning to the phrase, Here's Johnny! The Shining is a horror movie loved by millions. Unfortunately, this Stanley Kubrick classic is also full of noticeable mistakes. For instance, the opening shot of the Overlook Hotel contains no hedge maze, just a parking lot. Yet in the film, the maze is clearly right beside the main building. As an added bonus, every shot of the maze, whether a model, map, or the real thing, is different and depicts a completely different layout. Commando. While Arnold Schwarzenegger films are action-packed, they also contain more than a few mistakes. In Commando, for instance, Arnold is desperately trying to stop a bad guy before he can send a message that will get his daughter killed. In the ensuing car chase, Arnold gets the bad guy but smashes up his bright yellow Porsche in the process. Undeterred, audiences watched as the hero hopped into the crumbled ride and drives off. The biggest problem? As Arnold drives off, the Porsche has somehow fixed itself and there's not a scratch to be seen. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, that's
Indiana
a good
Jones
one.
is one of the most iconic film characters of all time. Moviegoers are so fond of this series of films that they are willing to overlook the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull's existence, and the fact that the character of Indiana Jones is largely inconsequential to the storyline of Raiders. Nonetheless, there is one mistake that some people can't let go of. Great effort was put into making a Tanzanian town look like Cairo in the 1930s. It was all thrown out the window when an extra wearing a t-shirt and blue jeans walked through the scene where Indy is sitting at a table with his monkey. Gladiator. The movie that put Russell Crowe on the map. Gladiator follows the exploits of a Roman general who is forced into slavery and fights to avenge the murder of his family. The movie had grand battle scenes and considerable effort put into costume and scenery. Despite all the visual work, there are several noticeable mistakes that film buffs love to point out. For instance, during the Colosseum races, one chariot spikes the wall and flips, landing on its side. A cover falls away from what is clearly a compressed air cylinder meant to help the chariot flip over. Red Dragon. In 2002, Red Dragon reintroduced us to psychotic murderer and cannibal Dr. Hannibal Lecter in a prequel of the films Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. Those of you paying close attention would have noticed a mistake when Agent Will Graham was going through the lead's house. When he opens the drawer full of movies, did you see the copy of Mrs. Doubtfire? Red Dragon is set sometime in the 1980s, but definitely before 1991. Mrs. Doubtfire was released in 1993, which means the prop people goofed or the leads were capable of time travel. Star Wars. George Lucas's 1977 sci-fi film is considered one of the most culturally significant films of the last 50 years. Considering when it was made, the special effects are pretty good, and it's one of those movies you can watch over and over and over again. That said, it has mistakes. Probably one of the most famous occurs on the Death Star when stormtroopers enter a room looking for Luke, Han, and Chewbacca. If you look closely, the door to the room never opened up enough, leading one stormtrooper to smack his head. Unable to use CGI to edit that goof out, Lucas opted to embrace the mistake by adding an audible thunk in future releases of the film. Thanks for watching. If you want to see other movie mistakes, bloopers, and facts about popular films and TV shows,
That's pretty cool. What the fuck is this? 10 roads you never want to drive on.
roads you would never want to drive on. Passage de Gois, France. This 4.3 kilometer stretch of road links the French mainland with the island of Noirmoutier on France's Atlantic coast. At first glance, you might think that's not a bad road to drive on. Wait a few hours and your opinion will change as the tide comes in and causes the entire route to vanish. Twice a day, this road is underwater, and any car that mistimes their crossing is going with it. Even if you time the tides just right, driving this road can be a challenge because it's wet and covered with seaweed, which can make it as slippery as ice. Patio Palu Pertikaki Road, Greece. Over the 23.5 kilometer length of this Greek road, the elevation changes almost 500 meters. This might not sound so bad to you right now, but throw in a lot of potholes, significantly tight twists and turns, heavy truck, pedestrian, and livestock traffic, and the fact that there are very few, if any, guardrails, and you have one hell of a dangerous road. The icing on the cake for this particular route is that there are often no lines or markings, which means many nighttime travelers drive straight off the road and to their death. Luxor Al Hurghada Road, Egypt. This stretch of road between the ancient city of Luxor and the Red Sea resort city of Hurghada is one which many will tell you to stay away from. But why, you ask? First, the road goes through some rather remote areas where a breakdown can mean big trouble depending on what time of day it is. Second, this area is known to be patrolled by bands of criminals and terrorists who generally strike at night. This has led many people to drive without their headlights on at night, resulting in a significant number of fatal head-on collisions. If you want to drive at night, buy some high-end night vision goggles. Please. Taroko Gorge Road, Taiwan. Part of Taiwan's Highway Number 8, the Taroko Gorge Road is widely considered to be the country's deadliest stretch of roadway. Carved into and sometimes through the mountainous terrain, this road faces significant erosion and landslides thanks to heavy rain and earthquakes. It is made all the more challenging by the fact that the road is extremely narrow in spots and has numerous blind corners which can be full-on surprises. Lose control or get bumped by another car? There's a good bet you are plummeting down the side of the mountain and becoming the latest victim of this infamous stretch of road.